Welcome back, Planeswalkers, to another episode of The Hive Mind. My name's Jon Dunning, and this is the show where I traverse the multiverse in search of other prominent members of the Magic the Gathering community. And before I tell you who is planeswalking in today, a very special guest, I might add, I do want to tell you about cardsphere.com. If you have this show, couldn't happen if it wasn't for the great folks up in Canada with cardsphere.com. You could go, if you have unwanted Magic cards, you can trade them, you can sell them, buy stuff on cardsphere.com. Great service for all your paper Magic needs. And if you like cool hats like this, or t-shirts, or bags, or anything like that, you could get all the Cardsphere swag at txcp.store. That's txcp.store, and enter the promo code Hive Mind for your 15% off. So, with all that out of the way, planeswalking in from Los Angeles, California, I have Mr. Alex Kessler from Masters of Modern Podcast. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me back. That was me planeswalking. If people saw me, I rolled in. I'm a rolling planeswalker. That's my main move.
Indeed. Yes. I'm so happy to have you back, sir. And for, people that are just coming here strictly for Magic content, Alex was on the on the channel before, but we were kind of talking about a galaxy far, far away instead.
Just a different, I don't know if you can planeswalk to Star Wars. That might be a harder thing to accomplish. You can jump the light speed there, though.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of the same thing, right? What do you think is faster? Let's settle this debate. Planeswalking?
Yeah. Planeswalking is just teleporting instantly anywhere, not in your universe, but multiple ones. Like, it took them like 6 days to get to the Death Star from Tatooine. So I feel like there was enough time for Luke to like play chess and then like practice on a practice droid. And then, Han Solo was like, well, I have time to lounge here while we're driving, versus planeswalking. Like, it's like that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing Magic has over Star Wars, is that they're faster travelers.
So it's almost on par with Star Trek, though, even though I'm not a big Star Trek fan. I guess it's kind of in the same vein.
Star Wars and Star Trek, I think, are, well, that was the whole, like, okay, we can get into this, I guess. But yeah, Star Trek, the movie created by J.J. Abrams, apparently breaks the Star Trek universe because they can teleport much farther than any before then. So why do you have spaceships if you can teleport that far? But we don't have to get into that.
Well, I mean, I'll even break it open even more in the nerddom, and it's like Nightcrawler, where Nightcrawler from the X-Men has to see where he's teleporting.
Yeah, see where he's going to, otherwise he just can teleport into a wall.
Wow, let's rein it back into the multiverse just a bit. And before, as we do on the Hive Mind, I like to ask Magic origin stories, and we'll get there because I am dying to know yours, sir. But before that, something just happened, and that was GP Las Vegas 2018. Like myself, you did not attend this year. We both went last year, I think, but I did not attend this year.
So the co-host from my podcast, the Masters of Modern, did attend. He even made it on camera. He was the one playing. He was actually playing my blue-white control deck that I lent him, which he lovingly named the Kessel Run, continuing the Star Wars jokes. So he had a great time. I am in the midst of planning a wedding for this September, and also working to launch a Kickstarter and all this other stuff. So timing-wise, it didn't work out for me this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about that particular deck, because it did get featured. It's pretty spicy. Where did you come up with this brew?
So I've had a blue-white deck in my Modern arsenal pretty much since Modern existed. Even before that, Super or whatever, when it was like Super Standard, I had a blue-white deck then, and then that evolved into Modern. My best performance at a PTQ before they changed it was I lost my win and in and hit 10th place, and that was playing a blue-white deck that had Teleria West and would tutor for engineered explosives, and it was Jeskai technically, but it was only just for engineered explosives to have that third color of mana, and lost to Mark Lullagu in my win and in, who was playing Boggles. And then, so I've had this deck on me forever. It was Geist, based for the longest time. When I took it to GP San Diego, it was Geist focused, and then before they unbanned Jace, the conversation we'd always have about the problem with unbanning Jace, especially while Splinter Twin was legal, was they couldn't print this, or this couldn't be legal with Splinter Twin, because it puts people too much on a, what do I deal with? Do I deal with Jace, or do I deal with the Splinter Twin combo? And I can't deal with either side of it. And so when they unbanned Jace, even though Splinter Twin was gone, I was like, well, there's a piece of Splinter Twin around, which is the Kiki Jiki Restoration Angel combo, which pretty much plays the exact same well, but a mana above. But you're just getting a much better creature out of Restoration Angel. And so started tweaking with that with Jason, and then Teferi came out, so we added Teferis in there, and then Ben took it to a modern tournament. He travels for work as well for sales, and he was in Chicago and took it to a modern tournament there. And right before him was like, I'm doing something spicy. I'm adding, so he added the Singleton Saheeli and Singleton Counter Cat, or what's the cat?
Felidar Champion?
Yeah. And so added Felidar, and then he was like, this is great because Felidar does a lot of other cute things with the deck that are really good because you can blink your Planeswalkers with it to get double activations if you need to, or it just is like a 5th bad Restoration Angel. And then Saheeli is just a decent thing because you're playing for Wall of Omens, you're playing the guy, the Llanowar, not the Llanowar Elf, the Manowar that also makes it so they can't cast a spell. Why am I blanking on this? Blue, white.
Oh, God. Is it Spell Queller?
No, the bouncing one. Well, now I feel bad because I should know what this card is called. But it's playing a bunch of different creatures that all have ETBs that like is meant to combo with Restoration Angel, Snapcaster Mage. So Wall of Omens and Restoration Angel being the key ones. And then so it also can take advantage of that with either Saheeli or Felidar, because both of them kind of do that rebuy effect. So worst case scenario, it's a 3-mana Snapcaster Mage. So putting it all together, and he took it and he did okay with it. I think a few of the issues was because he drew in his feature match, so he drew against Elves, which I've never played a blue-white versus Elves matchup where I didn't draw, because the game is always blue-white. Elves does a bunch of stuff on their turn, and then you wipe the board, and then you like think really hard about all the different decisions you have to make, and then you let Elves go, and then they recoup and then play a bunch of things, and then you wipe the board, and then you think, and so turns every time. And so he goes to turns, but then the deck was built to like didn't have a good matchup in the mirror. So in hindsight, we should have probably had 4 dispels, either in the main or in the side and between the two, so that he could just be able to protect the combo while he's going off against like cryptic commands, and that was the mistake.
It was pretty awesome, though. I caught a little bit of it. It was fantastic. Spiciest thing on the table that I saw. And I mean, this segues in nicely to your Magic origin story. I mean, coming from the Kessel Run brew, modern brew that's being featured at a GP Vegas, where did what's your humble beginnings? Where did you start from there to, the crazy Kessel Run down?
So day one was back in the 4th grade, 96, I think. So my dad was in the toy industry. I own a toy company. We'll eventually probably go into that a little bit. But I got into it because my family's been in the business, and my dad had a toy company that had their showroom space in the New York Toy Building on the same floor as Wizards of the Coast before they sold to Hasbro. And so he shows up one day, and I'm in the 3rd or 4th grade with like tons of alpha and beta Magic packs, and is like, hey, this is a new game. These guys down the hall were trying to get people to play. Are you interested? And me being a 3rd grader who the ability to do math was probably limited, was like, I don't want to deal with that. That's not Sonic the Hedgehog on my Sega. I don't want anything to do with it. Who wants to read? And then literally a year later, a bunch of friends got into it. So I was like, oh, I have all these really good cards because my dad had put them in a chest somewhere in my apartment. And then that got me started. Played until it got banned. So this was Tempest Block, was kind of the era. Played until it got banned in school because kids were ripping off kids, and that's what happened to Magic back in the 90s. And then like that happened right at the M10, and then in M10 started playing. Got really good at Zendikar block draft, and then around like 2 years later, me and a business partner of mine at the time, Craig Blanchett, decided we wanted to, because I was working in film production at the time, wanted to make a web series. So we made a show called Top Decking. You can find it on YouTube. There's 2 seasons. I'm currently engaged to one of the lead actresses, Becca. Her name is.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Because I mean, we could do like an hour of talking about top decking, because like I could geek out about that for hours.
So where do I go next? Am I skipping top decking and then we'll go back there, or go through that?
Yeah. Just I mean, you could mention top decking. I just want to really dive into that in a little bit.
So did that. Eventually we wasn't making a ton of money because there's no money in making videos for YouTube, apparently.
Yeah.
And so then I ended up doing a Kickstarter. We did really liking product production. And so I started working with my father again after he sold his company. And then got really into toys. But then at the same time, I needed a creative outlet. And so we started the Masters of Modern podcast because Jimmy and Josh, who do the Command Zone, had just started their podcast. And I guessed it on theirs and had a great time. And we had all the equipment from Top Decking. So it was like, oh, this is pretty easy from an upstart cost. And at the time, Glenn Jones, who now works at Wizards and was, previously at Star City Games, had moved to LA. So we started the Masters of Modern podcast together. He, within 5 episodes, got his job at Wizards. And so it was like, well, we're 3 episodes in. I have to find a new co-host. And so I did a run of interviewing, or we brought a bunch of guests on just to see which one of them would do the best job at being a co-host. And we had, funny enough, of the 4 people we had on, 2 of them also now work at Wizards. So Andrew Brown and Jules Robbins both were on those early episodes. We were like, who should be our second guest or host? And then
it was a good luck charm back then. I mean, you go on this, you audition for this, and you get a job at Wizards.
There was a point where multiple, the guests that we had on that hadn't had that were just people we knew, started winning GPs and or got jobs at Wizards within year of them guesting on the podcast, which was pretty cool. But then Ben came on, and Ben had actually quit Magic at the time. He sold his entire Magic collection for a guitar. But he professionally hosts things. What he was doing for a living and what he still does as part of his living is he hosts podcasts, and he does red carpet interviews. And so we found that, we could get him to learn Modern again. That was something, and his spirit of brewing was something that was, great to be a part of a Modern podcast. And him just relearning the format didn't take too much time because he's a good Magic player. But his ability to communicate was kind of the more important thing. And so we brought him on, and we've been doing the podcasts for 3 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember those early days with Glenn Jones on there, and I think Glenn just came off of doing a lot of stuff with SEG, if I remember.
He was kind of a similar as Cedric Phillips has been for the last couple of years, doing
and Ruben and stuff.
Right.
Yeah. So that was a lot. I remember those early Masters of Modern podcasts. You have the cheeky little intro, which is I would always play it at my last job. I was able to work graveyard hours, and I was kind of the boss, so it didn't matter. I just got to play whatever and listen to whatever. So I'd always have your guys' stuff on, and then that intro would come on, and people would always look at me a little weird, like I was watching something that I shouldn't. Who did the voice for that?
It was Jimmy's ex-girlfriend now. So Jimmy Wong, she did the intro for both podcasts. And so to kind of keep it within brand, we had her do ours as well. And we went for because they were more we're going to war with each other. And so we were going for monks on top of a mountain, and you've been trekking through hills to speak to these masters on a hill. Not that we're the best at Magic, but we interview the best people at Magic. So yeah, so that's how that came about.
Yeah, very, very Red Shoe Diaries. But what took you from, I guess let's rein it back in a little bit and talk about your early days of Magic. You said it was Tempest Block and stuff like that. What were the early formats? And I assume that when you started playing, it was just kind of a pile of cards and you just kind of did whatever. But did you ever try to hone it in and start going to FNMs at a young age? And what was your favorite kind of formats back then?
So when I was a kid, that I don't even know. I mean, this was at a point. So, I learned off of a half having the cards my dad gave me, but then Portal had come out. So I was using Portal. And then if people remember, Portal had different names for parts of the game. So
yeah,
your library was your deck, and it wasn't your graveyard. It was your discard pile. And, and so when we made the we were at a point in our game playing understanding of the greater world that I didn't play with cards that referenced the library because I thought that was referencing a sideboard or something along those lines. Because some kid, this is, before the internet even. So people were like, oh, we heard on the street that, in tournament play, you get a 15 card extra deck. And we were like, oh, we don't want to play with that noise. I have my Spike and Sliver deck that I'm playing with. And I have clones that no longer work, I guess, based on the rules.
Right.
The Wild West. And so, so there wasn't really a format. What got me to actually quit. Like the big out of the last year was when the original Unglued came out. I like bought packs, and then they were like, I had a Blacker Lotus in one, and I was like, oh, this is cool, and then it like wasn't cool, and I was like, oh, this is dumb, and screw this noise, and so I went off into the world of not Magic. It's like for some reason, having rarity on cards, Unglued, and foil cards all really turned me off all at once, and I don't know why that was, because I think all of those were really good decisions as an adult for that, but I think because I was a 8-year-old who had strong opinions on nothing. So definitely didn't play FNM or anything back in the day, was just playing with friends and like trading cards on my bedroom floor. And then when I started playing in college, that's when I would buy a card store. We, every Friday night would go to FNM, play draft on Tuesday, and so that was kind of probably the really beginning of playing Magic, and tried building Standard. I had a Goblin deck that was decent because it had 4 Goblin Guide, and just any deck that starts with 4 Goblin Guide in Standard is probably too powerful. And again, 4 Goblin Guide, 4 Lightning Bolt, and then everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah. Then just mountains, right?
Yeah, I think the top end was I would be able to war an Instigator. What's the 5-mana Goblin that makes Goblin tokens? Peter Kieran, no, I was older.
Siege Gang Commander?
Yeah, so I would just war an Instigator Siege Gangs in after Goblin Guiding them on turn 1 with Bolt back up. I think that's a fine Standard deck.
That's fine.
And then that evolved into Elves, which was the old Eldrazi Monument Elf deck that was in Standard at the time, because you had Arbor Elf and Llanowar Elf in Standard at the same time. Plus you had
Elvish. Oh shit, was that true?
Yeah, Arbor Elf, Llanowar Elf, Elvish Archdruid, and then there was a kicker lord, a multi-kicker elf lord, Nissa, the first Planeswalker. Yeah. This is Zendikar M10 Standard was really, and that was the best deck. Jund was the best deck, and then Blue-White Control with Jason was around in that format.
I was just about to say that wasn't even like the most powerful broken things you could be doing, because that was around the time of Cobblade, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh, this was a year before Cobblade. So all of these decks got hated out by Valakut existing, and then everyone realized Cobblade was a thing, and that's when I kind of stopped playing Standard. So that was kind of I became a Magic player really in that Zendikar Jund era, which I think is like a relatively significant time to get into Magic, comparing it to Modern, because a lot of what, especially now with Jason Bloodbraid Elfin Band, it's like very much that is a look at what Modern became.
So I know you like EDH too, and we could talk a little bit about that, but do you like more, do you kind of identify more as like a spiky player? Because going from all that, I mean, you're definitely a brewer, but Modern is definitely more on the competitive end of most formats. So where do you kind of identify type playing wise?
So I would class myself, I guess, most in the Johnny category, not in necessarily the sense of, more of like the wizard sense of the words, because there's the stereotypical sense of the different categorizations where Timmy is just like, I'm playing dumb things and I'm
just happy to be here.
And Spike is about like, I'm going to grind and I'm the best player. And then Johnny's like, I want to combo out, where it's more like what Wizards associates with is that Timmy is someone who just wants to play Magic. They don't really care about how good they are or bad they are, just want to have a fun playing a game. Spike is the person who wants to win. They're playing to show that, to prove to themselves that they can do better. And Johnny is really about kind of just proving concepts and showing what they can do. And my association with Magic, the reason I liked Magic to begin with is it allows you to invent something and then literally put it to a test immediately. And so being able to play tournaments was mostly just because it was the best way to put different deck ideas I came up with in the early days through the ringer. And that's what got me into Magic. I think, the difference between multiplayer and single player mode doesn't bother me. You could probably convince me to play any format of Magic you come up with. The less likely I am to play a format is more to do with more established it is. So Pauper is a format that I'm probably never going to get into, sadly, just because it exists already. And so there's like just decks, and I don't have the energy to learn everything, but if you invented a new format where I can create something new like Brawl, I'd probably jump in with both feet, because it's just fun to do stuff.
Did you ever get into Standard too much?
I've gone into Standard many different times. The 3 biggest times were right around Cons Block, right around the Innistrad / Return to Ravnica era. So
my man.
Ragfire, Fright. that era, and then the Zendikar, Scars of Mirrodin, that era, the beginning. Like that had gone the standard, then the decks I had rotated, and that was immediately followed by Cobblade being the best deck in the format, and then that rotated into, I mean, played standard pretty thoroughly through that whole period. But modern, as soon as modern came out, that's definitely where I started playing the most tournament play, I would say.
Do you
But
remember? Do you remember any of those like really cool kind of early pack pulls, or any just kind of awesome stories? Whether it be, you know, when you had that aha moment and you're just like, okay, modern's for me. Do you have any of those that stick out to you in your memory?
I mean, I like adopted modern right away. In fact, I think when they announced modern for the the proto modern for the World Championships, I think is what it was. I like bought every fetch land immediately, and then RTR was the set that got announced right after that. So
Yeah.
that was fun. But I was already invested in probably because I got to play with all the cards I liked, and then I got a little bit new because I never played with Laura and Block at the time. Cool picks. I mean, like early in the day, I kept there was one guy that I'd always trade them to, but I opened up like foil Primeval Titan in the M11 release, and I opened up a foil Ulamog during Rise of the Eldrazi, and I just traded them away immediately because I was like, well, for this one card, I opened up a Jace out of my World Lake box. Like those are back in the day when you were opening up $100 cards and then regretting immediately when you traded away.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think epic plays. All of the best memories I have of are mistakes. My first PTQ was a black-red Lava Claw Reaches with Blightning and Terminate and Sark on the Mad control.
Oh, Jesus.
Didn't do anything, and I just got hated out by Emrakul. Yeah, I don't know. That was the life of a young Alex Kessler Magic player.
And you said you had your family is in background with the film industry or just kind of entertainment in general. What was that?
Toys, actually. I mean, my stepdad was in entertainment, and then he was an actor. If you've ever seen the show Welcome Back, Kotter, he was one of the main characters of that show. Back in the day.
I'm old enough to know the reference.
Lon Epstein was my stepfather. And so that's a fun fact about me that I guess not everyone knows.
Breaking news.
So my dad had a toy company called Maui Toys. It was like a hula hoop outdoor skyball spring summer company. And then my mom was actually started the company with them, then they got divorced, and then she had a clothing company called X Large. That she also sold, and then now she's doing a thing called Bloomers, which if you look it up, it's like a preschool educational gardening toy company. And then awesome. I have my toy company that is around me everywhere.
Family of entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That is for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So, I lost my train of thought with that. Yeah. So, okay. So what honed that in to be like, okay, I have these, well, I guess top decking came first before the podcast, right?
So yeah, the first contribution I ever made to the Magic community, outside of just being bad at being a player, was tapped out during, I think it was the 2011 era when it first came on the scene. Started doing a community set where everyone was building a set together, and I was one of the 4 main judges and organizers of that whole kind of event. We it was actually really interesting because a lot of the mechanics that we all kind of came up with or decided upon became, as the sets started coming out, what Magic started doing. So it was a wedge themed set, so there were all 5 wedges. For those who don't know, that's Sultai, Abzan, all those guys now. And then we had one of the sets was very infect or poison focused, and then literally Scars of Mirrodin came out 3 months later, and that was the main focus. And so this was right in that Zendikar block era, and so that was my first time doing anything with the Magic community, was being one of the judges on that program. Organized the whole thing using Google Drive. It was called Google Docs. And then right after leaving, I was working in entertainment at the time at a talent agency, and probably the reason I left was because I was doing too much stuff with Magic. Me and my at the time friend, or still friend, Craig Blanchett, who also works with Command Zone and works with me now, we started the web series Top Decking, and that was we were in IHOP after playing a game of Commander, and we were like, oh man, I wish we could like make Magic cool. And at the time, the league was like new. It was like 2 seasons in. It was like a big thing, and Community started. It was like on its 2nd season. And so we were like, well, we can make like a web series like both of those shows. And so we like found a director, and we found a bunch of equipment, and we did full casting calls. We were like, us and game nights were happening. We almost kind of existed at the same moment, and it was very much like they were a bunch of people that played Magic making videos together, and we were people in Los Angeles who like hired actors, and but they had the benefit that everyone that was on their show could contribute with the Magic community, and our negative was that everyone we hired didn't play Magic.
Well, a couple people, right?
The creators behind it, Brendan Weinhold, who played the character Eric, played Magic, and then in the 2nd season we got more Magic players into the show. But season 1 we were just like, we want good actors, because I was working in entertainment. That was like a focus. I wanted this to be like a TV show, and really we were making it for people to watch that didn't play Magic to then be interested in Magic versus for people who played Magic necessarily. And we had 2 seasons. We did the 1st season on our own budget, and then 2nd season we kickstarted. Did 24 episodes, and yeah, it was a blast. I mean, we did really well. We got a bunch of people involved. Boogie, Jimmy Wong was in season 1. Tay Zonde, who's the Chocolate Rain guy, was in season 2. And yeah, definitely recommend it. It's on YouTube. It's on the MMCast YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com, you can watch all 12 seasons. It's fun. It's a fun chain watch. You can go through all of it, and like it's like 2 movies length.
I could definitely attest to this. There's 3 series that I rewatch every year. It's Friday Night Lights, it's Friends. Those are kind of with the wife, and then Top Decking. I at least watch that, like
real shows. Wow,
I know, right? I'm serious. Like
by far, Friends is considered the top 3 best TV shows of all time.
It's amazing stuff. It's like a cleaner Clerks meets kind of like The Office. It's fantastic. It's super funny. My favorite scene, of course, is Ben's introduction, Fatale. The vampire, which on Ben's show when he came on the Hive Mind, I actually had the clip on there, and I think that's one of you. I mean, you're not on camera a ton, but that's one of your greatest moments on the show.
Yeah, it's. Getting Ben on was always like kind of the best part. Like he was definitely one of the better characters, and getting him in the 2nd season was kind of one of our commitments to make him a bigger part of it. And then my cameo was always the worst because our writer was one of our friends, and like we had a mission to get. So the writer of it, if you see season 1, he's the guy who like is one of the announcers during the final tournament, and. He was like, if I'm on this, you have to be on this. And so they put me on as this. I was like a drug addict that like would get angry, and I'm not an angry person, and I'm not good at acting, and definitely not good at yelling at people while acting.
You're constantly getting bleeped out.
Yeah,
in the show.
It was torturous, but it was great.
It's fantastic. No spoilers, because I do want people to go, and watch this, binge watch it, like you said. But yeah, just dude, vampire. That's my favorite. My favorite thing of the show. And I mean, like I said, you're more of a cameo, and you hold the ranks, and that's kind of is this where you met Ben and your soon-to-be bride?
No, I was dating Whitney at the time. We met her through the guy who wrote the series. He was a coworker at the time, and we were all friends with each other. And then Ben and me knew each other through Magic. That's how I know everybody. That's, I think, how every Magic player knows anybody is Magic.
Right. Yeah.
My dad plays a lot of tennis, and all of his friends he knows through the tennis players he plays with. And I joke that Magic is my tennis.
Absolutely.
It feels all over the place.
So how did you hone all that into? And then there was another series that is on there that you could still see, and that's Mad Magic.
Yes, Mad Magic existed.
It's there. No, it's cool. It was a fun little Magic Finance series.
Yeah. So while we were doing Top Decking and we were kind of on the off season, we were like, what kind of content can we release? And the business partners I had in the company were like, well, you talk about Magic Finance, because I was into Magic Finance at this point, like all the time, and you can talk about it really well. And why don't we just film you saying the things you're saying? And they talked me into it. And Yeah, it went. It was fine. Apparently, I got like 99% correct predictions. Like I like on 4 cards I missed, and then every single other thing. If you had followed my advice, you would have been doing pretty well. Some of them were like very like there was a moment in standard where this card was not here, and then it went up, and then it is now worth nothing. So you would have missed that wave. But if you had done it as I said it, you would have been like very successful. So I guess that's great. And then that actually extended into an interview show. So we started doing more man on the street. We went to E3, and then we did GP Vegas, the first GP Vegas. We did an episode, and I like interviewed Patrick Chapin. That was like the first time I did that, and a few other pros and stuff. And it was fun. It was definitely a blast to film that. We had like a whole setup where we had a crane camera because my business partner was a compulsive buyer, and so whenever he'd find a deal on Newegg for film equipment, he would just buy it, even though we wouldn't necessarily need it. And so yeah, so we had a crane. So the first entire season of Mad Magic is like the camera's moving all over the place, which people didn't love necessarily, but it was cool.
Yeah. Oh man, absolutely fantastic. So do you still keep in contact with a lot of the cast from Top Decking?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm
right
getting married to Becca, and then and
we hope you still talk to her, right?
Yeah, unless she's mad at me, she might. We're doing a wedding planning, and I have divorced parents, and so they're pulling everything in different directions. But so maybe she'll talk to me tonight. Ben, obviously, I still talk to. Craig, I still talk to, who is my partner on it. Sam, that writer we mentioned, moved to Prague, so I talk to him once in a while, but he lives in another country, a land of castles. If you ever want to like go to Bant, the plain of Bant, go to Prague. It's apparently exactly the same. What else is there? Talk to everyone else once in a while. I mean, all of the ladies on the show were friends with Whitney at the time. So Maya, who played Veronica, and Talia, who played I forget the character's name. There was the punk rock girl, and then there was the blonde girl, and both of them we're still friends with. They're going to come to the wedding, hopefully. Talia's pregnant.
Great.
So that's fascinating. They were at my fiance's bachelorette party 2 weekends ago, and they're like in Vegas, and she's like definitely pregnant. Drinking like a non-alcoholic pineapple drink.
Of course, yeah. Is there any and I have to ask, so this is more of a personal question. This is just you and me talking, forget everyone else. Any chance for some kind of reunion or revival for this show?
I think that there's a possibility that for other things we do mini jokey short story episodes of stuff. That is possible. For instance, for the Battle Boss Kickstarter, which is the game we're coming out with, I've like been trying to convince Whitney to do like a Top Decking-y commercial for Battle Boss with her reprising her role as Becca. But most of the significant amount of the cast has stopped acting even. Hollywood has a turn, and so the people that didn't really find super bad success aren't continuing in that career choice. So Talia, for instance, works at Hulu. Whitney now works at AT&T. So I think a full Top Decking reunion is unlikely, sadly, but there'll be a little bits of here and there possibly in the future.
Excellent. Awesome. And then you're also like you mentioned when Masters of Modern was coming out, that's kind of when Command Zone started as well. And you have been a frequent guest on Command Zone. So how is it working with those guys?
They're great. I mean, Jimmy's super busy. He's I think in New Zealand right now for an extended period of time. But we've been playing. Me and Craig, the other creator of Top Decking, taught Jimmy how to play Commander. And we play with them once. They live on the other side of downtown in San Gabriel in Los Angeles, and we live in Santa Monica. And for those who don't know, that's not very close.
No, no, it's not.
But otherwise, yeah, no, they're great. I loved going on the Command Zone. It's always a blast. I was on actually 2 weeks ago. You can see we argued. So we did an episode where we talked about legalizing Commander Planeswalkers as commanders. I had a great time. I mean, apparently everyone in the YouTube comments said they picked on me because it was 2v1, but I think I held my own.
Yeah, those are. I mean, it's crazy from where that all started to but yeah, talk about now, going from just kitchen table to
on the Command Zone. I have the best story I have for the Command Zone.
Yeah.
and this is like a behind the scenes thing that hopefully I don't get in trouble for. But for the episode of Game Nights I was on the second episode, and like a week later, it hadn't come out yet. And me and Ben were talking about the fact that I was on it, and I spoiled the whole episode. And like at 2 o'clock in the morning, Jimmy and Josh like start calling me and texting me, being like, "You have to take the episode down." You spoiled the episode, and I'm just like, "Oh no," which might be the reason I haven't been back on. But I'm back on the command zone. They're fine there. No, yeah, it's always a blast.
Yeah, Eric Williamson in the chat says it was a great episode and he has your back.
Oh, nice. Thank you. Legalize Planeswalkers. Come on. What's the worst that could happen?
I am totally in that party. I would vote that as well. Yeah, and then talk about now your newest venture. I don't even know if it's really your newest venture, but kind of what you're focusing on the most. Of course, the podcast is still happening and everything, but just being a toy company owner and all that, and you have a big game coming out. If you want to talk about that.
Yeah. So once we were done with webisodes over Top Decking, I started working for my dad at Maui Toys, and he sold that company to Jack Pacific, which if you've ever seen those giant Stormtrooper action figures that are out there, they make those, and they like have the Frozen license, and they do a bunch of cool stuff. And so worked with them after they bought my dad's company. Then they decided to take Maui into a different direction, and so I left and started Kess. In the first year, kind of the reason I started getting into toys in the first place is I wanted to make games. So kind of I figured this out doing that the Tapped Out contest was, and I like a bunch of people would always like look at the Wizards of the Coast job postings and see if there was an available position, and realized that if I wanted to make Magic or make games in general, I was going to have to make my own. So I stopped putting kind of effort into making custom Magic cards and started making my own games. And so that first year we launched one of the games I was working on that actually shows up in Top Decking. It's called Davros in Top Decking, but we called it Super Party Battle when we finally came out with it. It's available right now on Amazon and ThinkGeek. It's like a party version of Magic the Gathering. So it's like if you played Magic, but every creature you played came with like a mini drinking game, or you had to play Never Have I Ever, or you have to do push-ups, and every push-up you get to exile another creature and play. So you can go get that now. It's really fun. And then after that, we launched into spring summer line. So we do hula hoops, jump ropes, bounce balls. We call our hoop the ice hoop because hula hoop is owned by Whammo. But it's an ice hoop you can get at Target. They're really shiny and pretty. And then we make a ball called the drop top ball, which I'm going to grab. Sorry, I'm really close to the camera. These guys. So these are our drop top balls. They're really fun. They feel really great. You can get them at Target. And then this year we're launching kind of our first strategy game. It's called Battle Boss. You can see the logo behind me. But basically the idea is you have these minions and bosses. And so the bosses are kind of like these larger vinyl figures. Do I have one on my desk? I don't. This is the character that we previewed on the Command Zone last week. So this is Ryu and Samurai. And so you have this bigger figure that's like 3 inches big. That would be Ryu. And then you would have miniature minis, and then you kind of fight each other, and you play cards and effects, and it can play either 2-player to 6-player. And then when you get to the 6-player mode, it kind of plays a lot like a MOBA, so like League of Legends or Dota. And so you have this big map, and there's like neutral camps that you have to fight through. And we're kickstarting it in August. So August 14th is the Kickstarter. You can go, we'll start releasing preview stuff. So if you go to www.kess.co/battlebosses, you can see videos of me playing gameplay, and you can see the episode we premiered it on for the Command Zone. So you kind of see the Ryu reveal. And then you can see the other bosses that are out there. There's Cthulhu, and then there's Grakthar, who's Ogre, and then there's 3. And then once the Kickstarter starts, there's actually going to be an additional 6. So there's 12 possible bosses that'll be unlocked during the Kickstarter. And it's a blast. If you like Magic, you love this. If you like games like League of Legends, you'll love it. If you like games like Risk, even, it has a lot of gameplay like that because there's a bunch of figures on a map. And you would like upgrade your bosses as the game goes on with cards. It's really fun.
God, that sounds awesome. I don't know how you have time to do anything, or
I don't. I live on an airplane. Literally, there's been 2 calls that I've had to ignore during this podcast.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's like your background's a green screen, right? You literally are on an airplane. But yeah,
that's airplanes. My life would be a lot easier. I could just pretend I'm everywhere at once.
It does sound absolutely fantastic. And if everything goes well, of course, or will you be able to get this kind of through retail stores as well, or just kind of online? Or
Well, sorry, you broke up a little bit. Can you say that again?
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, battle bosses. Is it gonna be kind of like the other KessCo items? Hopefully, where you could get it at like a Target and like LGSs, or is it gonna be more of like an online only?
So for sure, LGSs, we're kickstarting it, so it depends. If the Kickstarter is successful, how successful it is will dictate how well it does and where it can kind of be placed. We built the way the games are packaged so that they can work really well in a Target environment where it's you get one box and then your friend has to buy another one and then you would battle them against each other. So the idea is like different universes are being pushed together. And then for the Kickstarter, we even have the $100 version, which is the one we'd recommend. That comes with all 6. It comes with the MOBA map, so you get the whole League of Legends play. It comes with a bunch of extra stuff that's kind of meant more for Kickstarter, and that'll be more Kickstarter exclusive. So it'll, obviously if it's successful, we have the ability to talk to these retailers, and so we hope we can get it out there. But we really need people's help to kind of make it happen. It's a blast, and we definitely recommend checking it out and checking out all the information. We also will probably by the end of this month release a print and play, so you can play at least the first 2 bosses, Ryu or Grakthar and Cthulhu, as a 1v1 play thing. You just print everything out. You might have to get some dice and you put stickers on the dice, but otherwise it works.
That's awesome. Any plans on coming up to any of the cons or conventions in Seattle area?
Seattle, maybe. Right now on our docket for sure, we have Gen Con. So we have a booth at Gen Con, and we'll be doing demos there, and you can come check that out, and Super Party Battle. And then we also have we'll have a demo table at Dice Tower.
Perfect. All right. Well, yeah. If you come up, I'd love to play it because that sounds awesome. So.
I mean, and Ben goes up to Seattle relatively often. A, because we have some customers out there, but B, because he's from there. His whole family, Seattle. So he might do some demoing out there too.
Perfect. All right. It's that time where we're gonna play a little game. I know we're kind of crunched for time, but that's Face the D20. This is the part of the show where I roll a spin down, and each number on here correlates to a non-magic related question to get to know our guest Planeswalker a little bit more. You ready for this, sir?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go. Number Lucky 13. What food do you absolutely despise?
Despise? Bell peppers.
Really? Wow.
I can't eat like a room with a pizza with bell peppers on it. I'll leave. It's there. It's like I have a long list. We can keep going. Bean sprouts, the worst. They're like sneaky vegetable noodles. Like once they're the foods I hate the most after bell peppers and like maybe olives, like from a taste perspective.
Yeah, olives are gross.
Foods that sneak into stuff. So like raisins. I hate raisins because it's more like it's the disappointment that comes with a raisin. It's not like, with other foods I don't like that are fine. It's like I can avoid that, but with the raisin, you go up. Oh man, chocolate chip cookies! I'm so excited.
Right.
You grab it, and then you like look at the cookie now that it's in your hand, and you touched it, so you're throwing it away or eating it, and it's a raisin cookie, and you're just like, well, my life sucks. This is terrible. And bean sprouts are like that. Once they're in something, you can't get bean sprouts out of food. They're a permanent addition, so there's no picking it out. You have to make sure you get rid of it.
Have you ever had pho?
I have, and I get it without bean sprouts.
Oh, come on. I just had pho for the first time on Father's Day, and I thought it was fantastic. I loaded that bitch with bean sprouts. It was fantastic.
Pho is great. It's great without bean sprouts.
Yeah. Really spicy jalapeno, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait. So you like hot peppers?
Hot peppers are fine. I don't love them. I'm not going to go out of my way for a hot pepper, but like it's bell peppers specifically that I just like cannot tolerate.
This question has never sparked this much conversation, so we're gonna have to move on. What's the number one thing on your bucket list?
Bucket list? I want to go to India. I've never been. I have a lot of friends from India. It'll be cool if I ever get to go. For work reasons, I might actually get a chance to, so that's going to be really exciting. Though generally work trips are less exciting than vacation trips.
Good food, I've heard.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, number 9. Oh God, this is a challenge. Say Black Bug's Blood 3 times fast.
What am I saying?
Black Bug's Blood.
Black Bug's Blood, back bug. No, good. I can't say regular words correctly. I say stage rhino instead of siege rhino. I don't know what you want.
Stage rhino?
Yeah, he casts spells.
It's like a rhino, like a siege rhino on Broadway.
Or it's like it's like a Rock's War Monk, but he's a rhino.
Number 2, what's your favorite adult beverage?
Adult. Easy.
You cut out for me. I'm sure you were fine in the thing. I didn't hear you.
I'm Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
It was less easy because the connection broke out. But
favorite genre of music?
Rock, I guess. Generic music, all music. Oh, no, movie soundtracks.
Oh, nice.
Got this. That's my thing, I guess.
And I'm guessing probably up there would be like Star Wars score, maybe.
Scores are different than soundtracks. I do love a score, don't get me wrong, but this is more like compilation albums that are more me lazily picking a thing that I don't have to actually do research and like, oh, I liked all the sound, like I have the Deadpool soundtrack or the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack, which I've or Reservoir Dogs if we want a deeper cut.
Oh, look at you. Yeah. Oh man, I just, and this isn't to plug tomorrow night, but I just watched Baby Driver again. That soundtrack is absolutely.
Oh, I have it. It's really good. That soundtrack is great. There's like 30 songs on it. I think it's the longest soundtrack I have on my phone.
It's wonderful. All right, last roll of the dice. We're gonna do we already did that one. Let's
have more fit food I hate.
Yeah, right. We could go back to there. Your favorite TV series?
Oh, ever?
Besides Welcome Back, Kotter.
Well, yeah. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
I think I knew that about you, actually.
It's really good. Everyone should watch it multiple times a year. That's easy.
That was your opportunity to say Top Decking.
Well, I don't know if Top Decking is my favorite show. I made it. I'm glad it's other people's favorite show. I have a list on my phone of other shows. Wait, let me get there. Where is it? I had started making top 5 things. Here we go. Okay.
Very Gross Point Blank of you.
Oh yeah.
No, High Fidelity. Sorry. Shit.
There we go. Game of Thrones is pretty high up there.
Okay.
In hindsight, I got it. Like DBZ is pretty great. Stranger Things recently is really good.
Yeah.
If you know anime, FLCL is really high up there. And then I have favorite foods: tuna cones from Spago, Wagyu rolls from a place called Nanamon in Hong Kong, Handel's ice cream in Ohio is cookie dough ice cream, and then cheese blintzes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, there's next time you're up in this area, there's a little ice creamery called Snoqualmie Creamery, I think, and it has a Tennessee whiskey ice cream. I think it's like a vanilla bean Tennessee whiskey, and it has so much alcohol content that it doesn't even freeze really, so it's just kind of a shake.
Got it.
Fantastic.
Oh, that sounds really good. If it doesn't have cookie dough in it, I don't know if I can do
it. Sure, they could add some. So cookie dough gets in the door, but not raisins.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They're not even comparable. Raisins are like Satan's sprinkles, and cookie dough is like God's gift to humanity.
An unfinished cookie.
I don't have a child, so I can say this without any guilt, but I would probably sacrifice my first child for the same cookie dough if I had to choose for one to exist in this world.
I have plenty. We could put one of mine up for this sacrifice. All right, sir. Any upcoming projects that you could? I feel like we talked a lot about a lot of projects, but anything upcoming exciting that you can kind of leak out a little bit?
This one.
Got there.
Battle Boss is the big one. I mean, obviously, check out all the toys that are at Target, but the Kickstarter is coming up. Going to be a blast. You can do a sign up for an email list. That's the best way to do it. But there's also a Facebook group and a Facebook page. Just find Battle Bosses everywhere. It's definitely, at least from what's coming up for us. The other thing is we're doing video now on the Masters of Modern podcast if you're really want Magic content. So we'll be doing video content now. On our first video content that we're going to release is going to be our preview episode for M19. So we have a preview on Thursday, and it'll be video form. So if you follow the Masters of Modern Facebook page or the Masters of Modern discussion group, it's called the official Masters of Modern Facebook group, or us on Twitter, which at the MMcast, that's the best place to kind of follow us, and you'll get our preview card and a video version of us. You get to see what Ben looks like. Excuse me, what Ben looks like now. Still looks like a vampire. Well dressed. I mean, the other thing I'd recommend is go watch that Kessel Run video. It's round 2 at GP Vegas for the Modern Tournament. It's one of the best sporting events I've ever watched in my life, partly because of all of the great conversation on the Twitch feed. And yeah, definitely check all that out.
That's awesome, man. Are you going to be posting the video podcast back on the Masters of Modern YouTube channel?
So we are having a very thorough and long discussion on whether to continue the Masters of Modern YouTube channel or to start some, because we kind of let that die a little bit. We haven't been interacting with it a whole lot. It does have 11,000 subscribers, but we might start our own a new channel that kind of is more of an umbrella channel for everything. Because we're going to start doing Battle Boss video content. You can watch a live stream that we did already on the website, and there'll be Ben's going to start live streaming gameplay. And yeah, so there's a lot coming down the pipe from the KessCo crew.
Excellent, and I can't wait to have you back on again for another Star Wars show, because I like talking about Star Wars, and I think you do too.
Yeah, I can talk about Star Wars a lot. Okay. Yeah, it's like the most untapped resource because I get to talk about magic on the podcast. Is great. So okay, this is a shout out to this is an anti-fan shout out, but come on, fandom, we got to be better than this.
Right.
Off someone off of Instagram. Rose had to leave Instagram.
All right, save it for the show. Save it for the
okay. We'll talk about that then. But fans, the point of fandom is to let people love the things we love, not to just make people hate ourselves.
Totally. I know. I saw that. It made me sick. But where you mentioned all the outlets, where can you find? Where can everyone find you on Twitter and all that?
I'm at Kess Wiley, KessWyle. The podcast is at the MMCast, and then make sure to check out everything at Kess.co, which is our website, and the Command Zone, which is Collected.company, where you can find the Command Zone and Masters of Modern podcast. You can see the episode I was on for the Command Zone, and you'll be able to see the episode. Did you get me? Did you lose me?
We trailed off a little bit towards the end.
At the MMCast, at Kess Wiley on everything.
Perfect. Thank you so much again, Alex, for planeswalking in. So it's always a pleasure to sit down and talk everything nerdy and geeky with you. And you can find me, Jon Dunning, on this very channel. They Said We Said. You could also find me on Twitter at OrzovDunn. You could find me on Facebook and Instagram at Jon Dunning. So until next time, planeswalkers, I'll see you all in the multiverse.
I'm gonna planeswalk away.